All right, guys, welcome back to Native MMA Radio. I have another guest here with me, Louie Moreno the third, taking on Jack Montgomery. Fight to Win 181. It's going to be live on UFC Fight Pass, man. How excited are you for this one?
Pup, really excited and really thankful for the opportunity.
Now, you said you haven't faced Jack before, but have you been able to watch some of his work before?
Yes. Yeah, I have had the opportunity to see him compete, not only live against buddies of mine, but also I watched a couple of videos just to kind of check transitions and things like that. Absolutely.
Nice. Tell me how this whole bout with Fight to Win came about.
Sure. Well, it all started out when I was a brown belt and had my first opportunity to compete here in Sacramento. What's very interesting is when I did that, I believe it may have been one of the first shows here in Sacramento, and they did it at the Air Force Base in McClellan.
Nice.
And moving from competing there on the stage to now we're doing weigh-ins tonight at the Sheridan, and being able to compete at the Sheridan has been an absolute honor to be a part of the growth and the process of Fight to Win.
Yeah, it's crazy because like over the last almost like 5 to 7 years, just been this huge flux in people who have been really promoting just straight jiu-jitsu. I mean, you've seen it with MMA and stuff like that, but now it's really like people can make a living off jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it would be something where it would be a very humble living, but it's absolutely something that somebody can do.
100%. Louie, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Born and raised in Sacramento, California. I've had the opportunity to be taken care of by my grandmother my entire life. She's like one of my biggest inspiration. When I was a little kid, I used to play sports, and she would like cheer me on. She was like my crowd, even though I sucked. I sucked at soccer and baseball, man. I was like horrible, and she would just cheer me on, like, come on, and by her doing that, it inspired me to want to do more, to train harder. And so then as a child, I learned how to utilize my resources really well. I didn't have my mother or my father, so I utilized my teammates' dads. And I would ask them, I'd say, hey, how do you learn how to pass better? And one of my buddies, Adrian, his dad was like my dad. And he used to, have me over to spend the night and stuff. And he would take me outside and he would show me how to just do one touch against the garage back and forth. And then he would always tell me, run, don't ride your bike, run. You'll get better. And so due to that, it like raised my level from like way down here, like to way through the roof. And he was a huge inspiration to me too as well. And then I remember the first time my grandma actually appreciated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I went out to Disneyland to compete. And I was a blue belt. Just got my blue belt at the time. And I fought this guy who's 215 pounds, like huge, man. He was getting ready to go to Canada to take a fight. It was I think one of the only jiu-jitsu tournaments Disneyland threw. And this dude was huge, like built like a rock. Mind you, I was 155 pounds. I was like tiny little guy. Dude, it was crazy. And we fought, man. We fought all the way to a ref decision. No points, no nothing. He ended up taking the victory. But when my grandma watched and she saw that fight, and mind you, they gave me the fight on a VHS tape.
Nice.
That's old school. And so she was after that, she goes, how did you survive against that guy? And I just said, I just utilized, my leverage and my angles, and I moved away from strength. And then Helio, that's the reason why jiu-jitsu was created. If you're, not aware. Man. Yeah, man. He said, it's so that the little guys can learn to survive against the bigger guys.
He started using leverage instead of strength. I mean, obviously, you see Carlos Gracie, he's a fucking shit brick house, just like you're the guy you were competing against. Helio is a skinnier guy. I believe he had vertigo when he was a kid. So that just made him have to adjust his style and how he was able to do it so that he could still be very successful. And as you see, anyone that's competing in jiu-jitsu now could pretty much thank Helio.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, all the other Aldous Callers and everybody else like that too as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. When did you start jiu-jitsu?
Started when I was 24. I'm 41 at the time. So I had just got off surgery. I had a hernia. I was playing soccer. I actually had the opportunity to go to England and train with a B League team, and then we were playing in the Gold Cup, and ended up having to get surgery. My hernia completely popped out during the game. I fell to my knees. I went to the doctor the next day. The following day, I was in surgery. It was like that fast. So it wasn't like just like a minor tear or something that you can get around. They were like, yeah, dude, like you're going to be screwed if this opens up anymore. So from there, I actually had just gotten a promotion at the job I was at, and then ended up meeting this guy named Chris Gianelli, and he was doing jiu-jitsu, and I was like, hey man, is that I used to call it like Gracie jiu-jitsu, like that, it was called Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I was like, hey, you Gracie jiu-jitsu? He's like, yeah. So he ended up taking me to his academy, Sacramento Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Dave Terry was the professor at the time. He got his black belt from Hickson Gracie. And man, my first class, the thing that pumped me up the most was the people there and their energy. My first roll ever, I remember I was rolling with this guy, and I literally just hugged him and held on like for dear life, and like was like dragging my head through him, right? And the guy was like couldn't move me. He was like trying to push my head, push me off him. So for 5 minutes, man, he was just like, sitting there just trying to get me off of him. And then so after we were done, he goes, man, like, have you ever done jiu-jitsu before? And I go, no, this is my first class. He goes, well, you must have wrestled. And I go, no. I go, I didn't even wrestle. I just felt like holding you and just getting that pressure and pushing that pressure into you was going to be like my best asset, because I didn't know what we were even going to get into, right? I didn't know if he was going to punch me or something or whatever. I was just like, whatever. But anyhow, that's kind of like my intro. But his attitude and him kind of recognizing, hey, man, like, that was great, actually inspired me to want to continue to train.
And when did you receive your black belt?
So I got my black belt in November of 2017. I had the honor of getting it from Ali Beta, Checkmat. He's a Checkmat black belt. He's a 4th degree. Saved my life, man. That man saved my life, like on a real level. I went through a lot, like a very dark road, black road, and he was just always with me, praying for me, sticking close to me, calling me, texting me. He said when I was like about midway through my brown belt, he thought I wasn't gonna make it, and so it kind of made him like not feel well. And then so he then, because there was about a 6-month time where I just didn't train, and I kind of lost my way a little bit. But then, he had sent me this text, and he was like, hey, I just wanted to check in. I know you got a lot going on. If you can just pass by the academy, we had a promotion coming up. He was like, I would just love to see you and just say hi, So then I ended up like that week after he got sent that text, I ended up going to train, and we sat and we talked after for a long time, and that kind of inspired me to, get back involved in jiu-jitsu, and who's to know, maybe if he wouldn't have sent that text, maybe I'd still be laying on the couch, 250 pounds later.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead, you're over there snatching necks.
We're working on that.
Now, you're a coach at Checkmat in Sacramento, correct?
So I just recently had the opportunity to open an academy in Sacramento, California, AIM Jiu-Jitsu. We have, right now about like 10 strong. It's not huge due to COVID. I try to keep it real tight niche, because I like to know what everybody's doing. Of course, have my own decisions in regards to vaccination. So I got vaccinated, and then what ended up occurring is I wanted to make sure everybody else was safe. So I kind of threw it out there, and I said, if you're vaccinated, you don't got to tell us your medical background, things like that. But it might be smart if you're going to be training jiu-jitsu, because we're kind of sweating and rolling on each other, and I don't think a mask is going to help. So anyways, everybody, fell in line, and those that did, those that didn't, of course they didn't, that's up to them. But at the same time, I let them know that my first priority is their safety and their care. So I also had the opportunity, like, I help Ali out if he needs assistance at the academy. So he has an academy in Folsom, California. Mm-hmm. And so that's where my professor's at. And I kind of go back and forth. I train mornings there, and then evenings I teach. at my academy.
So you've gone kind of full circle now from being the student to the teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
And you got some pretty good guys underneath you as well. Like we talked already to Josh, and you see what he's going to do in the future, man. I just feel like he's got such a good head on his shoulders for being as young as he is.
Yeah. Josh is definitely a go-getter. I've had the opportunity to see him since he was 12, grow into the great human being that he is, and yeah, he's got a good road ahead of him, and he's got a sharp. He thinks really sharp. He's really smart about his decisions and his actions, and the choices that he makes, and that makes me happy. We're all human. We all make mistakes and things like that. But even though he's still stuck with me, he's still pushed with me. Still, he was kind of like another person that inspired me to go back down the red road, which was huge. Because that was something that I didn't really desire, but those like gentlemen like him, one of my other guys, Staples and Samples and things like that, they all kind of inspired me to grow in a good way.
Yeah, for sure. Last week, man, you were IBJJF Kansas City International Open. Walked away with, what was that, 4 medals?
Yeah, so both middleweight and gi and no gi golds in my division. The open division, I had the opportunity to go against like ultra heavyweights, and I fought the guy, one of the toughest dudes, my toughest opponents to date. I got the opportunity to like kind of see myself and understand certain things about my game in the gi, also in no gi, and so the lessons I learned this last weekend were amazing, and I got a silver, of course, in no gi open division, and then a bronze in open division gi.
Now, do you prefer the more traditional gi style, or are you more on the new age of I just like to train no gi and leg locks?
So I'm both. I love the gi just for the simple fact that it's going to be more practical. Mm-hmm. So if I were like a mom or a dad and I wanted to train jiu-jitsu, it's probably better to train in the gi because you might have a shirt on or a coat, walking down the street. If I was living that life of like a bachelor single, surfing all the time, out there just getting it, you know what I mean? Then no gi would probably be my go-to, and it would be more along the lines of the lifestyle that I live.
Now, for you, obviously, you've grown up in Sacramento. You're also native as well. Tell me a little bit about your tribe and where they're from and all that.
Yeah. So I love that question because I've had the opportunity to grow a lot within the native community, my brothers and sisters. I did the 23andMe. I didn't realize how much native I had in me. And to me, I would have loved to have known this like a long time ago. Because then it would have created more of like this desire to, dive deeper into my Native American culture. And the blessing with that is when I did the 23andMe, I was 56% Native American. And so I'm like, well, dude, like really, my dad's side, that was, more like the European, Finnish, Spanish, German, Italian, but then my mom's side, which is more like the Native American, my dad's side still had the Native American, but I never had the opportunity to really learn, what tribe. I know they're from down south. Recently, I've had the opportunity to speak to a couple brothers. Mr. Wilson is one of my spiritual guides, as well as Hill. They are mighty men, mighty Native American men. And they've had the opportunity to like really guide me in that way, in that humble and good way, and understand more about me and my path with, my ancestors and things like that. Cause that was my goal, was to basically get more in touch with my ancestors and, the way that they lived and to hunt more about that knowledge and wisdom. And it's been just kind of coming to me like in small waves, which is nice. Cause it's not, you don't want to really dive in head first into that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it could it could drown you, and, a lot of people may not know what I'm talking about, but it could be it almost could do the opposite. It could, demotivate you and you'd be like, wow, like, okay, you could see things, or internalize things a little bit different. For me, I like that slow, patient game, like jujitsu per se.
Yeah, for sure.
So I like the information coming to me like in smaller waves and understandings in smaller waves. And it's kind of a like, and I'm sure you're aware, it's not something that you could really talk about. It's kind of between you and the creator and your journey and your path, and something that unless you're doing it, you may not really truly understand it. But once you do it, there's only a few words that are needed to be said, and then that person will just understand.
100%. Yeah. So like even like with the starting of this, channel, like my biggest thing was like my buddy brought me the idea. He's like, why don't you just do native MMA? You're native. It makes sense. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of fucking sense. And I was like, you know what? There's not a whole lot of people out there promoting other natives. And then we usually fight against each other. You know what I mean? And we're usually pushing back against each other to where, like I had a guest on last week and I was talking to him, and I was like, if we all just combined our forces, like we would be unstoppable. Like you see the waves of Russians in the UFC, you see the waves of all these other, but like we are realistically have been warriors forever, and like for ancestors upon ancestors upon ancestors, like we have that warrior spirit in us. And then almost that will to want to compete and to want to fight, like it's there, it's in our DNA, like there's no hiding it.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%. And your brother, I'm happy that he did that. It was interesting because I was actually on a 4-mile run when I discovered you. And I was like running, and I was just like listening to some music. And then one of your videos scrolled across, and it had that song that you shared with me. And it was like, I was like, oh man, like that song just got heat behind it. And I remember the first message I sent you, I was like, hey man, what song is that? Because when I was running, like, and it came on, it was kind of like that drum was like pushing me to like want to go harder, right? And then and you were like, oh, you shot me information, super kind, super amazing. And I was like, man, I go, there's got to be a way for me and this gentleman to connect and to like kind of like move up together and help each other out and boost each other up in a humble and good way. And also, like support and push one another in a sense where, we want, like, I want to reach out to other Native Americans that are out there, not just in mixed martial arts, but maybe that want to be like an artist or want to dance, or sing, I want them to just push, just let the spirit move and guide them, and don't let anything stop you from doing what you love, especially anything like monetary, because a lot of times we see things and we're like, oh man, like this person has a gym at their house, or they have a nice car, or this and that. And sometimes it's like, well, I'll never be there. So then, you push on to just go work at a grocery store, which is not a problem if that makes you happy. But however, if you are desiring to do something, use all your resources. Who cares what somebody else has? Who cares who they are, what they're doing? Like just be in that moment, be you, be creative, and be dominant on your highest levels. And then that way, the rest of your existence is going to kind of fall into alignment in that way.
100%. Like sometimes I think, like, especially when it comes to like other people, like obviously other people that do MMA media, like I'm like, well, I'm super out of place sometimes, like I'm just, some kid from the desert trying to have fun. But like when I get, obviously invited to like Bellator shows and all these other big, huge shows, and I'm just like, and I'm in the, press conferences with the same people who I've been watching forever. And I'm like, dude, okay, I do belong. Like there is no gap between us, because right now we're in the same building doing the same thing, and we're all on the same level.
Right. No, you're absolutely correct. I like how you saw that perspective and how you saw just everything kind of being like right here. Right. And there is no difference, right? Man, woman, whatever, like there's absolutely no difference. It's all equal playing fields. Everybody can live the most desirable life that they decide to live. And there's enough out there for everybody. And
for sure.
It's so intense. It just depends on the amount of dedication you want to put into something to put you there. Like you went to Bellator, also, later on, I'll probably get some footage for you at the weigh-ins and things like that, because that's the connection you want. You want to like create those relationships with other individuals.
100%.
that are going to push you out there a little bit further. And sometimes it's going to feel uncomfortable, right? I'm like, someone's pushing me, hey man, go compete and fight to win. And I'm like, what, dude? What the, like, no way, man. That's crazy. I'm going to be fighting in front of, a bunch of people in Sacramento and oh, I'm fearful of what they'll think if I lose and blah, blah, blah. Man, scratch that. I'm like, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to fully commit to whatever it is I'm doing, and nothing's going to stop me from giving it everything that I am. And if I win, great, raise my hand. And that's not the end. It's not the beginning or it's not the end. It's just another opportunity to gain another lesson, even through a victory. And then also, like, if I lose, it's like, hey man, like, great, what's the difference?
All part of the
right?
journey.
Yeah. And if you're not on that journey for yourself, and you're doing it for other people, you might want to rethink what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you're doing it for yourself, win, lose, or draw, it's not even going to matter, because you're doing it for number one, and that's what's going to inspire somebody else to learn to do it for themselves.
That's like, for me, like, I just want to tell your guys' stories. Like, I don't get paid to do this. It's all for fun for me. But I want to give you guys the opportunity to tell about yourselves. You know what I mean? Because there's not a lot of people that, focus on everybody. And I'm down to focus on everybody.
Right. And I like that, because I see you do guys in the UFC, guys in Fight to Win, guys in Submission Pro Tour,
Mm-hmm.
Guys in like all these, maybe PFL, all these different events. And to me, that's great. But then also the other great thing is that, like, one time, you get this champion that no one's ever seen, and he starts promoting, hey, I did this podcast, and let's just say he goes out there and wins a UFC belt, and then you have this footage of this man or this woman, and you're like, you get to like push it out there. Oh, I remember, like, back in the day, hey, can we get another interview? And he's like, yep. You know what I mean? Like, you believed in me when nobody else did, and now it's kind of like that full circle. Now let's let it reciprocate. Boom. And then now you're doing an interview with a world champion. So you're doing the right thing. I think what you're doing and the attitude you have is not normal. It's not something that, just anybody is going to be able to tap into.
Mm-hmm.
But when they do, it's like there's no limit. It's endless.
I appreciate that, definitely.
Yeah.
How let's get back to the grappling matchup here real quick.
Yeah,
Obviously, this Saturday, this weekend, you're going to be going to the weigh-ins here in a couple of hours. What are your keys to victory against Jack?
So Jack is long, lanky. He's going to be a tough wrestler. I know he's when it gets who is it? Monsoon.
Mm-hmm.
He's fought Monsoon, man. He's had some wars, so I like that. I like that he's going to come in with some scars that came from, like, monsters, and vice versa. I'm going to come in with some scars. I just fought, like, guy ranked number 9 right now in the Masters division in the world, and so it's like we're both coming in with, like, some good battle wounds, and I feel like both of us have a great opportunity to really, like, perform during this match. The one thing that I can say is that a lot of guys are, like, ripping these honey holes and doing a lot of other things like that. I definitely want to see his jiu-jitsu. So standing with him, like, I'm sure we'll have a little back and forth standing. My goal is to really kind of be a tornado under his feet. And
I love that expression.
If I could push for a heel hook or a knee bar or something of that sort, that'd be wonderful. Toe hold. I definitely going to be hunting just because he's going to have, like, longer legs, and that usually is a little helpful. But also at the same time, he's going to have longer arms, so that means that he can snatch me up, pull me, and I got to be aware of that too as well. Guy's going to come in strong, I'm sure. We're both. So I just, weighed in at 184 pounds last weekend, and then I'm actually going down in weight. So I'll be, I'm probably going to come into this fight at, like, 185, 184. On a full stomach, I'm like 189. I weighed myself in my virtual weigh-in this morning, sent it over to Seth, and got that all dialed in, which is good. But The interesting part is it's like, I'm going to be fighting at 181s, and I think that's usually he's a middleweight too as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're both going to come in a little bit heavier, a little bit stronger, and we'll have the opportunity to push in that direction. Another thing that I was thinking is like, man, if he's coming in heavy, he may not have the same endurance that he usually has.
For sure.
When he's fighting at 180 pounds. And so I'm excited to like figure that out and find out, because I definitely love having the ability to have like that gas tank that can go that 7 minutes. And they just cut our fight down by a minute. So it was 8 minutes. They cut it down to 7, I'm sure due to time. Seth did a great job putting the event together on such short notice. And we got a lot of, new competitors coming out that are going to like definitely be, they're going to be individuals that you're going to see in the future. I'm sure of it. And it's going to be a great card. Like there's a lot of new headhunters and even some purple belt matches out there that are going to be like great to see.
Do you know where on the order you guys are going to be?
Yeah. So we'll be fighting at 9:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want to say
the event starts at 5.
Starts at 5, ends at 10. So we're up there. I think we're probably like 5 or 6 fights from the main event. So I don't have the specific number, but we're 9:05, or we can go a little earlier, or we might go a little later. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I'm definitely looking forward to that, to getting out there and just seeing all those lights go off and hearing the crowd.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Being underneath those lights is just such a different experience. Not a lot of people can handle it. You know what I mean? So obviously you've found much success underneath the bright lights, the brightest of lights. Of the fact, I mean, obviously you went through IBJJF last week. This weekend, fight to win. What's on the horizon for you?
No, for myself, realistically, I want to create some really game-changing athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, like for Josh, for example, I feel like he's got a lot of opportunity. And just like I let him know, I let everybody else know, if you're going to do it, commit, do 100% and give it 100%, give it all that you have and no less. You don't want to leave either winning or losing to chance.
Right.
One of my coach said it best. He goes, luck, there is no such thing as luck. It's when preparation and ready meet.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, you're able to like really get those victories or those wins.
Well, like even like our guys at the gym, I constantly tell them, I'm like, man, cardio. You see a lot of matches lost on guys gassing out.
Right. Oh yeah. And the great thing is you got to understand cardio too.
Mm-hmm.
So cardio comes in different waves. You got your jiu-jitsu cardio, you got your marathon cardio, you got your triathlon cardio. You look at like guys like, Nate and Nick Diaz, like they're doing triathlons and everyone's like, well, why? Now they know, hey, they were like the first guys I've actually really seen to do that. I had the opportunity to train with Gilbert Melendez and Jake Shields and the guy that you probably will, and a guy you'll probably never hear of, but I challenge you to look him up, a guy named Danny Marks. Mm-hmm. He's a bartender in San Francisco, California. Danny, what up, brother? Miss you, bro. I'm in his highlight reel, right? We're, a bunch of 25, 26-year-olds out at Fairtex in the Bay Area training. And this dude is just ripped, like huge, the biggest 155er I've ever known in my life, like monster, trained with, Jake Shields and Gilbert Melendez consistently. Man, I've seen those guys, training with them and then watching them go to Pride and just beat people up. I'm like, what the heck? That's it's intense. But that's when I got to see what it was all about cardio wise. Moving to LA was probably the best thing I ever did in my life. And that's only due to the fact that I really got the opportunity to work with like guys like Chad George, Jeremy Humphreys, Seb Zudi, who coached, the U.S. Olympic team as well as Ethiopia. Phenomenal boxing coach. He's got a documentary out called Suffer, 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 like complete like monster. And he always says suffer for good. If you're we're all gonna suffer anyways. right? We're all living
Professor
this
always
life.
tells us to enjoy the uncomfortable.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Facts, brother, facts. Because ultimately, if you're going to suffer, you might as well suffer for something that's worth suffering for, right? Whether it's your family, family first, your relationship with your Creator, your God, your Lord. We all got to sacrifice. So sacrifice your time and put it into something other than, just consistently sitting around and not really pushing towards any direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big piece, man, because you go out there, you train with your professor, you guys get some work in, get that work done, which is amazing. And after, you feel great. You feel like, man, I have an accomplishment, right? Now, if you're sitting in front of the TV and you have to rest, there's a time and a place for that.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it and you're utilizing things to kind of be counterintuitive to what your goals are, man, don't let that happen. Call a friend, say, hey, hold me accountable. I'm supposed to train at 3 p.m.
Right.
Call me at 2:30 and make sure my ass is out the door and I'm on my way to training. I mean, we all have friends, and even if you don't have friends, put an alarm on. You know what I mean? And put the note. You know what I mean? Get your butt up and move. Right, and don't stop, because the second you stop, and it almost happened to me like quite a few times, right, where I would just sit back and I would make like an excuse, like, okay, I'm gonna just I'm gonna, if this happens, then I can't make it to training, and it happened to me recently. It was funny because I was like, preparing for Missouri, and I woke up and I was like, okay, let me just sit around and hang out and kind of run timeout, because I know that if I wait another 15 minutes, it would be too late to leave, because then, I would get to training and I'd only have 15 minutes to train.
Right.
Kind of stupid. But then this other side of me, this darker side, woke up and goes, hey, man, like, do you think that that's something that, is going to help you become more of who you desire to become? And then it's like, the other side didn't even answer. It just, my body just moved. I just acted, grabbed my bag, jumped in the car.
Time to go.
Gone, bro. Oh, yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah,
Well, Louie, I don't want to take too much more of your time today. I've already taken about 30 minutes from you. But before I let you go, I want to give you an opportunity to shout out your sponsors, teammates, loved ones, anyone that's really helped you along your jiu-jitsu journey.
Yeah. I just like, B&G, breaking new ground. I represented him at, Fight to Win. We actually went and had the patch put on my gi and went out there. Louis, man, he's the owner of B&G. Phenomenal human being. He's done great as far as like creating something that is now going to like be seen all over. I see a bunch of black belts wearing it now in IBJJF. It actually was on a couple of like little like infomercials that IBJJF has on their website. Subdivision, man, brothers out there in LA killing it. Subdivision is wonderful. Definitely shout out to Checkmat, Checkmat Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Ali, Checkmat Folsom, my coach, my professor, definitely has done, more for me than I could ever repay. My brothers, man, Wilson, Hill, my cousin, Ruben Trejo, he's cool, man. He'll probably introduce you to him too. He's been by my side recently a lot and helped me out, and kind of, gives me somebody to talk to in my family that is rare. Definitely shout out to my son Noah, out and doing it, going hard. He calls me and checks in on me and makes sure that I'm training. So I love him for that, and my daughter Maya and my daughter Chloe, they look out for me. They're most beautiful women in my existence. They take care of me in a good way. They help me to want to be better and perform stronger, so that I could be, that father figure that they could look up to, and, give them that encouragement to strive for, being better themselves. And then also to the Creator, Lord, giving us all this opportunity to do what we're doing. And anybody out there that's deciding what they should do, go on a ride along, go with somebody that's in the business, take the initiative. If the job you want is in England, go to England and check it out. Don't hold back. Don't let nothing hold you back. Just do whatever you have to do to get to where you're going. And if you're there and it doesn't make sense, reset, go to the next one.
There you guys have it. Where can the fans find you on social media, Louie?
So I'm on basically on Instagram at Lou LOU _ Jitsu JITZU. That's pretty much all I have. I don't really have too much more right now. We're in the process of building websites and things like that. I just right now I'm still kind of focused on being an athlete while I have that time and that opportunity.
Right.
So that's pretty much it. And what about yourself? So how can they find you?
Well, obviously I have the Native MMA Radio Instagram. We have the Native MMA Radio YouTube, and we have the Native MMA Radio Facebook page. So any one of those, jump on it, and I'll be there.
Yeah, and I got one last question for you.
Yes, sir.
I want to know about your tribe.
Okay, so I'm part of the Tataviam tribe. We are from Southern California, like the San Fernando area. Right. Our spiritual lands are pretty much like where Six Flags is. That's pretty much like all of our spiritual lands. Right. For me, I've been pretty much going. When I was a kid, it was either we played baseball on the weekend, and as soon as we were done with baseball, we went straight to the powwows. My dad was a Northern traditional dancer. We grew up in it. Like my aunts are on the tribal council. I have a lovely wife who is also Native American. She's part of the Mojave tribe. So, I'm just trying to. I got long hair, don't care. Oh. Trying to keep it close to the ground, get it close to the creator as much as possible, and just grow as an individual. You know what I mean? I feel like that's super important because us natives, there's really only like 2 or 3 routes for us. It's either alcohol, drugs, or jail. And I try to break that stereotype as much as possible.
Wonderful. And if we have any upcoming athletes that are out there, how would you recommend that they send you a message, kind of give you an update on what they're doing, and then maybe you'll reach out, or how does that work?
Honestly, if you're going to reach out to me, give me the time to tell me your schedule. I'm going to get you on this show 100% because you guys took the opportunity to reach out. And I know that's not the easiest thing in the world to put yourself out there, especially as an athlete. So if you're going to put yourself out there to me, I'm going to find time to make sure to give you a spotlight.
Oh, right on. I love it.
100%, brother. So again, Lou Moreno taking on Jack Montgomery this Saturday, August 4th. Earlier I said it was on UFC Fight Pass. I lied. It's on flowgrappling.com. Check it out. You are not going to want to miss this. Fight to win 181. He said he goes around 8 o'clock. So enjoy because there are some great matches on this Fight to Win 181. Lou, thank you for your time, man, and I can't wait to have you on again.
Oh, brother. Thank you.
Of course, man. Anytime.